You've been putting in the work. The walks are getting a little lighter, the reactions are less intense, and for the first time in months, you feel like you can finally exhale. And then, a few weeks later, you realize you've quietly stopped doing the training. I want to tell you something I don't always say out loud. When my own dogs are making progress and the daily pressure lifts, I relax. I ease up. I don't consciously decide to stop, but it happens. And I have been in this work for nearly 30 years. If this has happened to you, you are in good company. Losing momentum at this stage is a predictable human reaction to success. It happens when the pressure drops, and it's a pattern I've seen repeated across decades of clinical work. Understanding this pattern takes the weight off. You're navigating a biological feature of your own brain, and that perspective shift lets you restart without the baggage of perceived failure. Navigating the world with a reactive dog forces your nervous system into a state of hypervigilance. Every walk is a potential crisis, and that intense, ongoing stress creates urgency. Urgency is one of the most powerful motivators we have, providing the massive amount of fuel required to sustain high-effort training. This graph illustrates exactly what happens biologically when your dog's behavior improves. The perceived threat level drops, and the brain's internal alarm system finally quiets down. As that threat signal lowers, the line representing human effort perfectly mirrors it, plunging right alongside the fading crisis. The human brain is a relentless efficiency machine. Sustaining that level of hypervigilance is metabolically and cognitively expensive. When the dog is doing better, your brain registers stability and automatically reallocates your energy away from a threat that appears to be resolved. This drop in consistency means your nervous system is working exactly as designed. It's a simple mismatch in timing. Your internal alarm has turned off before the dog's new habits have fully turned on. To see why this timing is so dangerous, we have to look inside your dog's brain during this period of apparent success. A dog holding it together near a trigger for a few good walks has promising momentum, but they have not formed a cemented habit. This conceptual diagram represents how generalization works, the process where a dog takes a skill learned in one specific context and applies it as a default response everywhere. A new behavioral pattern starts as a thin, fragile connection. To compete against the thick, heavily established connection of their old reactive default, that new skill requires massive repetition across different streets, different distances, and different days. This is the biological timeline mismatch. At the exact moment your human brain signals that it is safe to drop your effort, your dog's brain desperately requires a high density of repetition to lock in that fragile new skill. If you pull back too early, you deprive the new skill of the practice it needs to set. Without continued reps, the thin neural pathway stays weak, and the older, deeply rehearsed reactive pathways reclaim control of your dog's behavior. Behavior slides backward when a new habit is starved of the runway it needs to become automatic. The training didn't break. The repetitions just stopped before they could finish the job. When the work starts to feel easier, you've reached the transition point into the next phase of training. This is where you move from building skills to proving them. This visual roadmap outlines the 3 sequential phases of reactive dog training. We start here, in Phase 1, Basics and Management. The primary goal in this foundational block is stopping the bleeding, reducing rehearsals of reactivity, and creating breathing room for both of you. Following our roadmap into Phase 2, we hit Working with Triggers. This is where active skill building happens. This is also where handlers experience early success and, almost predictably, let their consistency drop. Expanding the roadmap forward brings us to Phase 3, Maintenance and Generalization. This is the expansive, lifelong phase where skills are taken into real-world variety. The crisis management fades out, the wins stack up, and calmness finally becomes your dog's new normal. Mistaking the temporary ease of Phase 2 for the ultimate finish line traps you in a cycle of regression. Continuing forward is the only way to reach the true stability and joy available in Phase 3. If you stopped training weeks or months ago, you might be looking at your dog's behavioral slide and feeling deep guilt or defeat. This timeline graphic shows a reassuring neurological truth. Even with a visible gap in your practice, the foundational data layers and neural pathways remain unbroken underneath. Dogs retain the pathways associated with trained responses, even during long periods of inconsistency. The gap in practice only degraded your dog's fluency and reliability.
Their underlying learning and the associations you built with good outcomes are still there. Returning to training means starting from a paused foundation. You are not starting over from zero, and you haven't ruined your dog. Your immediate step for recovery is simple. Go back to the absolute basics. Start at sub-threshold distances where your dog feels completely safe, and prioritize a high success rate. Avoid trying to reconstruct everything at once. Give yourself a tiny target. Just one short, easy, highly successful session this week. Lowering your demands during a low-capacity stretch protects resilience on both sides of the leash. A smaller, sustainable effort always beats an ambitious plan that gets abandoned. Next week, Hero Dogs Clubhouse is diving into what happens when your partner or household doesn't understand any of this, why home alignment is necessary for progress to hold, and exactly what to do when that alignment is missing. The reactive dog journey is a series of open doors. If you've lost momentum, stepping back through the basics is all it takes to find your footing and keep building a better life together. Like, share, and subscribe to keep progressing with us. We'll see you next week.